Every 3 years, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority in the US actually puts out a financial literacy quiz to see how Americans will prevail when it comes to answering these questions. Now, let's just say the results were not the greatest. Less than a third of Americans who took this quiz actually managed to answer 5 out of 7 questions correctly. So, today, let's find out. Are you smarter than the average American? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Ali. I'm a certified financial planner based out of Toronto. And today we're gonna test your knowledge and see whether or not you're smarter than the average American when it comes to financial literacy. So, let's get started. Now, when it comes to this quiz that FINRA comes out with, they actually do multiple choice questions to really help you out in figuring out what the answer is. So this doesn't require you to do very complicated calculations or having a deep understanding of the intricate details of all of these financial topics, but it does require you to have some knowledge. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the questions here, and I'm going to explain why the answer is the way that it is. So let's take a look. The very first question here. Suppose you have $100 in a savings account earning 2% interest per year. After 5 years, how much would you have? More than $102? Exactly $102? Less than $102? Or I don't know. I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds. So the answer here is more than $102. Now there's a simple way to actually calculate why this is the case. $100 with a 2% interest means that you're gonna earn $2 on that $100 by the end of the year. Now that's after year 1. Year 2, you're gonna earn 2% on the $102 that you had in the account. So now all of a sudden you're at $104.02. And then in the 3rd year, you're gonna earn another 2% on top of that. So you can already see, we're already in year 2 and we're already above $102. So right away, you know that the answer is more than $102. Now let's take a look at the second question. Imagine that the interest rate on your savings account is 1% per year and inflation is 2% per year. After 1 year, would the money in the account buy more than it does today, exactly the same, or less than today? I'm gonna give you guys about 10 seconds to answer this question. And the answer to this question is less than what you can buy today. So in this case, if we break it down, 2% inflation means that for something that you can buy this year with $100, next year you're gonna need $102 to buy the exact same thing. So if you're earning 1%, that means you're gonna earn $1 on that $100 by the end of the year. So that means by the end of the year, you're gonna have $101, but you need $102 to buy the exact same thing. So in this case, you actually have less than you need in order to keep up with inflation, and that is why the answer is less. Now the third question, this one is a little bit more of a technical question, but I want to see how good your knowledge is when it comes to this topic. If interest rates rise, what will typically happen to bond prices? Rise, fall, stay the same, or is there no relationship? I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds. The answer to this question is bond prices will fall. And there's a reason for this. Bonds actually have an inverse relationship to interest rates. So when interest rates go up, the value of bonds actually go down. And when interest rates go down, the bond values actually go up. So in this case, just by understanding the simple correlation between bond prices and interest rates, you'll know that the answer to this question is that bond prices will fall. Now this fourth question has to do with mortgages. True or false? A 15-year mortgage typically requires higher monthly payments than a 30-year mortgage, but the total interest over the life of the loan will be less. I'll give you guys 10 seconds. Now the answer to this is it's true. Now the way to really understand this is with a 15-year mortgage, you have to pay down a lot more in the mortgage in a shorter amount of time versus the 30-year mortgage. And typically what you'll find is, let's say for example, the interest rate is the same. If you're making payments on a 15-year mortgage, you have to put down significantly more than what you would have to on a 30-year mortgage. And what you'll find is because you're paying down a lot more for every single payment, more of the principal actually gets drawn down. So that actually means that the value of the mortgage goes down quicker than if you do the 30-year mortgage. That's why the people that end up taking the 30-year mortgages actually end up paying a lot more in interest than somebody who would take the 15-year mortgage. Now let's take a look at question number 5. This one has to do with investing. True or false? Buying a single company stock usually provides a safer return than a stock mutual fund. I'll give you guys 10 seconds. So the answer to this is false. So the reason that this is false is because when you're buying a stock mutual fund, a lot of times you actually get more diversification. You're invested in a lot more companies in a lot of different regions, in a lot of different industries. And typically what you'll find is the fluctuations, the volatility of that mutual fund is significantly less than if you were to take a look at an individual stock. Now, of course, in this situation, this is why a lot of people, instead of buying individual stocks, have been buying index funds. And this is why index funds have become very popular, especially over the last few years. So in this case, you'll see that actually holding an individual stock is more risky rather than safer than buying a stock mutual fund, or even in this case, an ETF. All of this would all get encompassed into the same conversation. All right, so let's take a look at question number 6. Suppose you owe $1,000 on a loan and the interest rate you are charged is 20% per year compounded annually. If you didn't pay anything off at this interest rate, how many years would it take for the amount you owe to double? I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds. If you need to pause for this particular question, do it, because this one does involve a little bit of math. Now the answer to this question is 2 to 4 years. And it's very, very easy to do this math. You just have to understand that when you are charged interest, it does compound in a very similar way to when you're saving money. So ultimately what ends up happening is the amount of interest will grow over time. I'm gonna break it down for you guys. If you have $1,000 in a loan and you are charged 20% interest, in the first year, your loan will now be $1,200. Now, in the next year, when you're charged 20%, now you're getting charged 20% on top of the $1,200 rather than the original $1,000. So in this case, now you're getting charged an extra $240 on what you have. So by the end of year 2, the loan will now be $1,440. One of the things to note is if this was not compounding and it was just $200 every single year, then it would take 5 years. But now because the money that you have in the loan is compounding in a negative way in terms of how much you owe, now you know that it's actually going to take less than 5 years in order for the amount to double. And we also did the calculations. By year 2, you're only at 1,440. And it's going to be less than 5 years, so it has to be between 2 to 4 years. Now, the very last question is, which of the following indicates the highest probability of getting a particular disease? There is a 1 in 20 chance of getting the disease, 2% of the population will get the disease, 25 out of every 1,000 people will get the disease, or I don't know. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to figure this out. Now the answer to this question is that there's a 1 in 20 chance of getting the disease. This is actually the highest probability, and the easiest way to figure this out is to break everything down in a way that is the same across all of the possible answers. So if a 1 in 20 chance refers to a 5% chance. So that is higher than the second option, which is the 2% of the population. And it's also higher than the 25 out of every 1,000 people, because that is a 2.5% probability of people getting the disease. So right away, the 1 in 20 chance gets you to 5%, which is the highest, which actually is the highest probability for the population to get that particular disease. So there you have it, guys. How did you do? Let me know, out of these 7 questions, how did you do? Did you do better than 5 out of 7? And if you did, please let me know in the comments. I want to know if you did better than the average American. If you guys like this video, please leave a like. And also, if you have any questions, please leave those in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. If you learned anything from this video, please share this with your friends and family. At the end of the day, if you learned something from this, I'm sure they will too. And this also allows me to continue to make these videos, to make this information readily available to people like yourselves. As always, guys, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you guys in the next one.